My name is Gus. I live in a bus. I travel to take pictures of beautiful people, beautiful places, and I share my experiences with you. So let's go. I used to start all my videos with my coffee in the morning, and basically there was time while I was doing that, I was starting to try and get used to making a blog every day. So today I went down into Lillooet, got my coffee at PNW. Part of it was to show you where I'm having my coffee. Ta-da! And the other part was to get myself started, so I had a beginning, a kind of a normal or natural beginning to every day. I'm not in a beautiful spot like this every single day. I mean, I spend an awful lot of time in beautiful places, but they're not always completely and totally picturesque and incredibly beautiful. But this place is worth seeing. It's worth seeing again and again. And I'm gonna try and show it to you. The difficulty I have sometimes is the lighting, but there's the water pouring out of the lake to go towards the hydro dam. And this is the lake itself, and we're surrounded by enormous cliffs that come out of the lake. I'm hoping you can see them there. So this is Seton Lake. Somebody asked me yesterday if they can launch boats here, and there's a woman over there putting a sup in, but there are docks here for power boats. In other words, some of the people are using power boats to go fishing, etc., and ferry people from one place to another, because there is a community 20 miles up that lake that is serviced by a train that goes along the side of the lake, I think 3 times a week, he said. And it takes people to and from a small community further up the lake. Now you can see my problem when I put the sun behind me. I'll have a very, very difficult time seeing me. So I've just taken us out on a little dock that exists here. So today I wanted to talk to you about the purpose of these meetups, or at least my purpose in trying to get people to get together. And it becomes clearer and clearer the more of the people that I meet that have come to this gathering, and people I've met over the years or that I've been traveling around. Most of us are independent, which means that we don't join groups. We don't gather together that frequently. But an event like the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous demonstrates how many people there are. In that case, there were 10,000 people who came to the middle of the Arizona desert. They came to the desert for a gathering on free land. But they have the way in which that particular group is organized. They have no political voice, or at least they don't use that voice politically. They don't put much pressure on communities to help create spaces for travelers or mobile travelers or those people who are living in their vehicles as they travel around like nomads. All of those organizations that might get involved politically, in other words in local politics, they would be something like the RV association or something like that, that are generally and almost always exclusively funded by corporations or companies that are involved in the RV industry. They're involved in making money from the consumers of the RVs. There's very few that I can think of organizations that simply represent the consumer, the person who bought the RV or is living in an RV type of situation, like a motorhome that's been converted, or a van that's been converted. So there would be like van dwellers, schoolies, box trucks, etc., and like the bread truck style, like Purolator, any of those conversion vehicles, and the people who buy campers on the back of a truck or a trailer or even a large RV. There are many communities that want to ship those people out of town. They actually have parking signs that say, it's too long, too tall, or you can't park here all night. They actually make many rules to stop people from staying in their town. They generally make these rules because there will be people who take advantage of that and park a vehicle, often not very attractive vehicle, and leave it there for like weeks on end or even years while it deteriorates and it never moves. So those people would be called, by all of us, they would be called squatters. Look at this. Is there anything prettier than that? I'll get myself out of the picture so you can see. Just one person on a lake like that, all to themselves. So really what I'm saying is that because we're independent people and we don't get together very often and we don't join organizations and we don't create organizations, we have individually zero clout. The most we might spend if I go to a town might be $200 over a week, something like that. I generally go buy food and maybe need some kind of auto parts or repairs. Might buy something occasionally if it's in a sport related to the area that I'm in. But generally I'll be buying food and buying fuel and going to the restaurant and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily going to spend a lot of money, and I'm only one person, so I spent, let's say it was $200. But if they understood that if they were friendly towards van dwellers over their high season, all of these towns where people might arrive in the winter to ski, etc., or in the summer to enjoy the lakes or the scenery or the weather, all of those towns would get roughly $200 from every person who came. So if there was 1,000 people who came through their town and they welcomed them, that town would benefit from roughly $200,000 worth of additional business they used to chase away. So a gathering like we're having today, as it grows, right now it's the first one that we've had and it's had about 3 weeks notice. As it grows, in other words, we'll have another one in maybe in September, because we want to be in the off season when we know we can get spots in the available places. The places that are free are usually filled pretty quickly, but we'll gain the, when we're in off season, we can go to many places that are free. And with this group, I get people to sign a piece of paper to say they got here and they were here, only to essentially allow me to count the number of people that came or that were involved in the event. So this time we'll have roughly 20 people came to one event that with 3 weeks notice. Next time we'll do it again in September. Hopefully in the next month or so I'll have another place to do it. I don't know where that will be, but hopefully another location, a different one. And hopefully we'll end up with roughly 100 vans, 100 vehicles at that one. And as time grows, these gatherings will get larger and larger. So I intend to have 3, maybe 4, in locations like this that are already free, that are already available for us and already have room for us. In other words, they're suitable for the number of people that we have coming. After we reach a number of, say, 100 to 200 vans gathering, I want to go to a town that actually has signs that say no parking overnight, and basically are van dweller unfriendly. In other words, right now, they basically literally kicking everybody out of town. And I want to go to that town and tell them I've got 300 or 400 vans about to arrive that are going to come to your town in July or something. We need some space. Where can we put them? And of course that town has no overnight parking signs everywhere. But by the time I've finished talking to them about the 400 people that are going to come here and spend $200 or $80,000 in that tiny town over a week, they'll be picking up the signs. They'll be taking the signs down that say no van dwellers, or like no parking overnight, or no vehicles over 20 feet or too high, that kind of stuff. They'll be taking those signs down, or they'll be giving us a specific designated parking area where travelers are welcome. After they experience our visit, they won't have any objections to travelers continuing to come and stay in that location when they're passing through that town. So my long-term goal is simply to put together some of these gatherings to use the numbers that we put together as essentially the political clout to get these towns to understand that there's money in travelers. In other words, to have them stop telling people they can't stay there and creating spaces for us. Up till now, the reason they don't create spaces for us, I mean, they know they want the money, but they get pressure from the other, or I might call a competing group to us, and those are the people who have campsites for sale for $35 a night or $50 a night. They feel that if the city starts to provide, or the community, which often it's a small community or a regional district kind of thing, if the community provided us with free spaces, that we would be competing with the $35 a night pay sites. Now the fact is that I will never go and I will never pay for a pay campground. The reason I won't is because it's too expensive for me I can't do that. If I did that every day of the month, I'd be paying more to rent campsites than I would pay for an apartment. And in fact, I couldn't afford to live in those places unless I saved for the year to go on a 2-week holiday. Now, the people who use those campsites are the people who have a 2-week holiday. They want a guaranteed reservation. And when they get there, they want their kids to be able to play in a playground and be able to take showers and sort of hang out, put their boat in the water and that kind of stuff. So they're looking for those facilities. And those campsites will fill up because they provide those facilities and they provide that reservation. They provide the security and the insurance assurance that there will be a spot. So those guys essentially have no competition other than each other, because people won't come. Some people won't come to that town if they don't have that assurance. So they provide a very valuable service to the people who want them, but they don't provide any service to me. So my intention with these meetups is to gather large numbers and have everybody have a good time, of course. But as we put numbers together, larger numbers together, we gain this political clout, and we can change the landscape around us. We can change the communities. We can change the minds of the people who believe that all of the people that live in vans have no money and they'll shit in your garden. So we just have to change that the arguments that these communities have had for so long against transients. Their arguments have been specifically for a small group of us, and they're never looking at the financial reward that we provide a community. But because they're not aware that I think in the Pacific Northwest, there is close to 250,000 people living in some kind of mobile vehicle. And the town that says, welcome, everybody come here to my town. I've got a beautiful lake all summer. Camp over here, right on the lake over there. That town's going to get 250,000 visitors who will all use the restaurants and the grocery store and buy fuel and get their car fixed and buy sporting goods or rent bikes. All of these people will come there and spend a lot of money. And some of the towns just don't get it. There's a huge number of people and a huge potential resource in terms of their financial resource for that community. So my gatherings are intended to get enough people together to demonstrate that there's a large number of van dwellers, a large number of people that live in their vehicle, a large number of people that get into a truck and camper for the weekend, a large number of people that tow a trailer away for the weekend, or live in a trailer full-time, or live in a motorhome, or just use their motorhome on the weekend. It doesn't really matter. The number is astounding. At least 250,000 people, for sure. And what are the paper's stories about people who live in vans or people who travel in vans? Oh, they're the drag of society and they can't find jobs or they can't pay for their apartment. You know, some people own homes and travel in motorhomes and travel in vans. And they don't need to or want to pay for that $35 place either. They simply don't need it. And they're not, how would I put it? They are not, because they're more adventurous, they're not ever going to be the guy who pays for that parking spot. And in fact, I won't pay because it's full of kids playing in a playground. I'm not a grumpy old man, but I don't want to go to a place with kids screaming and dogs barking and, you know, motorboats racing around on the lake. So that's enough of this story, but take a look at that view. So my day is definitely not over. It's about, it might be 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning. My coffee's still here, the view's still there, the video's over, and over and out. See you later.